Have you ever wondered why the people who love each other most in the world can say the most cruel things to one another? Why, in a single moment, a tender whisper can turn into a violent scream? Welcome. Today, we are embarking on our most ambitious 24-minute journey, the anatomy of conflict in a couple. This is not just a video about how to argue correctly. It is a deep dive into what happens to our psyche, our bodies, and our neurons in moments of rage. We often perceive conflict as a sign of love's end. But in my 8 years of practice, I have realized the opposite. Conflict is a desperate cry for help. Today, we follow the journey of Anna and Alexei, who are stuck in a destructive cycle of blame and silence. We will study the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and look inside your brain to understand the biology of anger. By the end of these 24 minutes, you will begin to see conflict as a doorway to true closeness. Let's begin. Act 1. The Daily Tragedy. Anna and Alexei considered themselves a happy couple. They had a cozy home and 7 years of shared history. But for the last 2 years, their life has turned into a minefield. Any little thing, unwashed dishes, a forgotten date, turned into a grand scandal that could last for hours, then change into days of icy silence. In the first act, we see a typical scenario. One partner attacks and the other defends or goes into deep retreat. Anna felt lonely and ignored. Her scream was an attempt to be noticed, but Alexei perceived her words as a brutal attack on his personality. He would close himself off, hoping the storm would pass. In this dance, there are no winners. There are only 2 wounded souls. A purple mist of unsaid things and accumulated resentments filled their home. They stopped being allies and became enemies. The most terrifying thing is the silence that follows, the silence in which hope dies. Why do we do this? Let's break down the biology. When Anna starts raising her voice, Alexei's brain perceives this not as the words of his beloved woman, but as an attack by a wild beast. In that moment, the amygdala switches on. It knows no logic. It only knows survival. What occurs is emotional flooding. Cortisol and adrenaline are instantly dumped into Alexei's bloodstream. His pulse jumps to 120 beats per minute. At this point, his prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and empathy, simply shuts down. You literally lose the physical ability to empathize with the person in front of you. The fire-red atmosphere of conflict is a state of fight, flight, or freeze. That's why in those moments we say the most cruel, most unfair things. We are trying to survive a biological catastrophe. Alexei didn't want to be cold. His body ordered him to freeze. Anna didn't want to be a monster. Her nervous system was screaming from terror. During such flooding, a constructive argument is biologically impossible. You are 2 wounded animals. Act 3 is dedicated to the patterns that slowly kill your marriage. John Gottman identified 4 signs, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The first is criticism. This is an attack on your partner's character. You always ruin everything. The second, and most poisonous, is contempt. This is sarcasm, eye-rolling, a position of moral superiority. Contempt literally undermines your partner's immune system. The third is defensiveness. This is a refusal to take responsibility and using counter-accusations. And the fourth is stonewalling. This is when a partner completely detaches, creating an icy chasm of silence. In Anna and Alexei's house, these horsemen were permanent residents. They stopped seeing each other as individuals worthy of respect. Argument became a tool of destruction. We must recognize these horsemen. Contempt has no excuses. It requires radical treatment, a return to gratitude. In this act, look the truth in the eye. Which horseman are you feeding? In our work with Anna and Alexei, we decided to dive deep below the surface. Act 4. Searching for hidden pain. I asked Anna, "What are you actually crying about when you scream about this unwashed plate?" She whispered, "I feel like I'm transparent to him, that my efforts mean nothing. I'm afraid I'm no longer necessary." This is the moment of truth. An argument about the trash is never about the trash. It is a dispute about value, about the right to exist in the eyes of the person you love. It is a cry for security. We use rage as heavy armor to protect our tender eye. Alexei, retreating into silence, was protecting his own need for safety because her scream meant, "I am a failure." Conflict is an iceberg. On top is the tip of complaints. Below is a huge mountain of childhood pain and a thirst for love. We must learn to speak the language of needs. When we say, "I feel abandoned," instead of, "You are lazy," the rules change. The blue light of de-escalation begins to cool the fire. You are not enemies. Realizing this is the foundation of peace. Act 5 opens another depth. Where did we learn to argue like this? We aren't born with the ability to scream or be snarky. We take this script from our childhood. Alexei saw how his father would go into the garage for the whole day after every argument. Now he does the same thing automatically. Anna grew up where you had to scream to be noticed. We carry the shadows of our parents into our relationships. This is an intergenerational conflict script. We unconsciously recreate the dramas of the past, hoping for a different ending. But the ending will be the same until we realize these threads. When we broke down their childhood, their rage turned into deep compassion. Anna realized that Alexei's silence was his ancient survival method. Alexei realized that Anna's scream was her way of escaping the terror of abandonment. Understanding your shadow gives us a great gift: choice. You can cut these threads and write your own script. You are building your family, not a museum of old resentments. Give your children the gift of an honest life. Act 6, the practice of peace. How do you start a difficult conversation so it doesn't end in war? The soft startup technique is critically important. If you start with an accusation, you guarantee that your partner will close up. A conversation almost always ends on the same emotional note it began on. A soft startup is a description of a bare fact without judging and an expression of your own feeling. Instead of, "You forgot my request again?" we try, "I was very upset this evening because I needed your help with this matter." Do you feel the difference? One is an attack, the other is an invitation to closeness. We also introduced the time-out rule. If your pulse is racing, you must make the T-pause sign. You separate for 20 minutes. This is a time for self-regulation. Breathe, wash your face, listen to music. In 20 minutes, the adrenaline will leave and you will return as humans capable of listening. De-escalation is not a sign of weakness. It is the highest form of emotional maturity. You are choosing love over momentary rightness. Happy couples are not those who never argue. They are those who know how to make successful repair attempts. A repair is any phrase or gesture in the very heat of an argument that says, "I still love you, even if I'm furious. We are on the same team." It could be a silly face, a gentle touch, or a simple, "I'm sorry, I went too far." Anna and Alexei developed their own secret gesture. Alexei would simply put his hand on Anna's shoulder when she was boiling over. This was their silent signal: "I am not your enemy." But remember, repair only works when you have a sufficient bank of trust. If you invest warmth in your partner every day, they will accept your signal in the storm. We learned to move from "who is to blame" to "what can we do together?" The warm beige light is the light of healing. We acknowledge there are no perfect people. We will hurt each other. But what matters is how quickly we come with a psychological first aid kit. Repair is your willingness to be vulnerable. Being right often means being lonely. Being together is priceless. Let's repair the bridge. In the 8th act, we speak of personal responsibility. We often throw in our partner's face, "You drove me to this." No, the harsh psychological truth is that no one can make you feel something without your consent. Your rage is your reaction, and you alone are responsible for it. Anna learned that Alexei was not a button she pushed to explode. We drew the circles of responsibility. In the center is what I can directly influence: my words, my choice of tone, my decision to stay or go for a timeout. Outside are the actions of my partner. You can never change another person by the force of a scream. You can only change the environment around them by starting to change yourself. We studied self-regulation techniques: box breathing, grounding. When you feel the fire within rising, ask yourself, what is this rage really about? Often it is an old fire from your past. Establishing healthy boundaries is not about ultimatums. It is a communication of your limits. I will not continue if you raise your voice. It is concern for the dignity of both. Beige light symbolizes your maturity. You are becoming the master of your emotions. And here is the finale of Anna and Alexei's story. After 6 months of our work, they learned to argue creatively. Yes, they still argue. But now every argument is followed not by a week of heavy silence, but by an hour of deep, healing intimacy. They realize that conflict is not an enemy, but a diagnostic tool. Every argument highlights the place where they lack understanding or boundaries. The golden light of their home now truly warms rather than burns. They discovered the magic of vulnerability. When you remove your armor, your partner no longer needs to aim at your weak spots. He sees your wound and wants to heal it. True love is the ironclad ability to return to each other after every storm, no matter how high the waves were. We see their new pyramid of values: honesty, security, and deep respect. They have learned to take care of each other even when they are in great pain. This is real, adult love, built with your own hands every day. The golden glow on the screen symbolizes their world, which has passed through the crucible and become pure gold. Their life is filled with new meaning and peace. Now I am speaking personally to you. We have spent these 24 minutes together, analyzing other people's mistakes. Now I want to look you directly in the heart and ask, what do you really want more? To win this argument, to prove you are right, or to keep the living person next to you? 10-second pause. The poison you sometimes pour out on your partner, it destroys you too. The prison of resentment has no doors that open from the outside. The key is always inside you alone. I challenge you. In your next argument, when your throat is constricted by rage, stop. Take one deep breath and say your most terrifying truth. I'm in a lot of pain right now, and I feel lonely. I'm afraid of losing you. This is the act of a true hero. It is many times harder than striking with a word, but it is the only path to salvation. Your relationship is not a battlefield. It is the only refuge from the outside world. Don't make it life-threatening. Be the one who drops their weapon first. The biggest failure is to prove your rightness and be left alone in a hollow room. Take a step toward vulnerability today. Say a simple, "I'm sorry." I believe in the power of your heart. As we conclude this 24-minute deep dive, remember, peace in the family is not a happy accident. It is a daily, conscious hygiene of the soul. Your story, your victory over rage, can become light for other people. If this analysis helped you see a way out, please share it in the comments. We are creating a community of people who choose awareness instead of instinct and love instead of ego. Your saves and shares help us continue these important psychological immersions. I am Maria, and I will be waiting for you at our new sessions. Remember, you are the main architects of your own happiness. Take care of your love. It is the most precious thing we have. Love is not a feeling, it is a practice of truth. Until we meet again, take care of your love. Final orchestral peak fades to silence.